Hey guys, welcome to the first of a series of comparisons between 7 of the top 360 cameras of 2018. There's so much I could talk about with these cameras that it really is best that I break it up into different episodes and focus on one specific thing per video. In this video, I'm going to focus on the look. What do the photos look like? What do the videos look like? How does the overall look of each camera compare to the 6 others? And which ultimately has the best, most realistic and picturesque look. My name's Ben, by the way. I'm the guy in the photo. See the guy there? Yeah, that's me. No, not the guy in the background, the guy in the foreground. Yeah, that guy. So I want to start with photos, and these 7 photos were taken on auto exposure, and these are taken straight out of the camera. No color correction has been done. Here is the natural look. A lot of you guys out there don't include color correction as part of your workflow, so it's important you're able to choose a camera that has a good look straight out of the camera so you can go straight from camera to social media. I'm going to put a link in the description to all 7 of these photos. If you want to download them and pixel peep them yourself, you're more than welcome to. I'm not displaying this as a 360 video because there's just too many cameras. You need to be able to take a step back and look at all the nuances between the 7 cameras. And from looking at it myself, it's really hard when it's zoomed in. So I'm going to go through them one by one. We'll go from worst to best. And we're starting with the Yi 360 VR. I'd probably say it's the worst of these photos. Look, it's clearly overexposed a bit. However, this was on auto exposure. I've been experiencing a lot of overexposure when using the Yi with both photo and video, and it's a completely unreliable camera right now. I've shot some okay images, but this is not something you can rely on just yet for photo. With the Verb, as you guys might have seen in my review, it's an amazing 360 video camera, not so good at photos. It's looking quite flat and desaturated here, and straight out of the camera, this is just not something you'd want to upload to your social media channels. Next, we have the Rilo, and this is a camera that's been much hyped about the stabilization, but not much else has been talked about. Looking at this photo here, it's better than the previous photos. However, you'll notice there's a strong orange cast over it, almost like sepia, and it is quite hard to color correct. I've noticed this with both photos and videos. It's just covered in orange, and don't get me wrong, I normally like orange in my photos because warm is always nice. It makes the photo more inviting, but here it just seems kind of more brown, the color of poo, and that's not the color that you want people to associate to your photos. Look, I'm sure they're going to fix this in the future. I'm just poking fun, but at the moment it's orangey brown, and that is not a good color to have smeared all over your 360 photos. Next, we have the Theta V, Xiaomi Mi Sphere, and Insta360 One, and they're all doing a really good job. I'm not going to go into much detail here because I've already done a 20-minute in-depth photo comparison between these 3. Check it out on my YouTube channel. It'll answer all of your questions, but for now, I'll say these are really good. Not perfect, but extremely good. Next is the camera we've all been waiting for. It's the GoPro Fusion. Look at this photo. It's looking excellent all around. I'm really happy with this image. The dynamic range is good. The sharpness is good. I like the colors. It's pretty well balanced. When I uploaded these sample photos to the Life in 360 Facebook page, the GoPro Fusion was the most popular photo that I uploaded. Well, it was actually pretty close between the Fusion and the Mi Sphere. Those were by far the 2 most popular photos of the photos you've just seen. So straight out of the camera, I'm going to give first place to the Fusion, followed by the Mi Sphere. Theta V comes in a close 3rd, Insta360 One 4th, Rilo 5th, Verb 6th, Yi 7th. But what happens when a master color corrector goes to work on these 7 photos? Well, they look exactly the same. Nah, I'm just kidding, but they do look a lot more similar, don't they? I would say all of these photos are now usable. Maybe other than the Yi, but all 6 of the others I'd be happy to post on my social media feeds. So after color correction, does the order from before remain the same? No, it doesn't. Firstly, the Fusion, Mi Sphere, and Theta V are still the best 3 images. They have the best overall dynamic range, and this is exemplified by the highlights at the top of each image. You can see it captures the sky and the clouds harmoniously. There's no overexposure there, so good job to those 3 cameras. The Theta V is just a tad soft for it to move up a spot, so it's down to the Xiaomi and the Fusion, and they're looking almost identical. I can't really pick these 2 apart. So I'm going to award the Mi Sphere the #1 place, purely because it has more resolution. The Mi Sphere is 6912 by 3456, whereas the Fusion is only 5760 by 2880. Good job, Mi Sphere, defying the odds yet again. Theta V 3rd, Insta361 4th, Verb 5th. Yes, the Verb has gone up a place. I'm noticing significantly more detail in the Verb's image when you look at the Opera House and the detail in the sails. It seems a bit blotchy on the Rilo, whereas the Verb, it seems much crisper. So Verb 5th, Rilo 6th, Yi 7th. And you know what's crazy? The Yi image is actually super sharp. It's just the exposure that looks so bad. This is why I say it time and time again, resolution isn't everything. You can have all the resolution in the world, but if your image is way overexposed, then it's still unusable. If we looked at these cameras purely in terms of resolution, the standings change just a little bit. Here are the numbers for both photo and video. No need to get your calculator out, I've already done the maths. Combining both photo and video, the camera with the most amount of overall resolution is, drumroll, the Yi 360 VR, weighing in with 5.7K video and 5.7K photo. Well done, Yi. And although I say resolution doesn't always matter, in terms of look, it does matter a bit. It's not the #1 factor, but it is a factor, and the Yi has the highest out of the bunch, perhaps its only redeeming feature. Coming in second place for resolution, we have a three-way tie between the GoPro Fusion, the Insta361, and the Xiaomi Mi Sphere. Yes, that's right. The Mi Sphere has been upgraded to 4K recently, and that brings it to the same combined overall resolution as the One and the Fusion. In third place, we have the Rilo. Fourth is Garmin Verb, and bringing up the rear, we have good old faithful Theta V. It's great in lots of areas, but photo resolution isn't really one of them. Taking it over to video now, and I was going for a walk and I found some dingy old bridge, and I figured this was the perfect lighting situation to test because you do have lots of shadows and highlights in the same image. And looking at these 6 here, I'm seeing a lot of the same things I talked about earlier with the photos.
Hang on, Mr. Ben, did you say 6? There were 7 cameras before. What happened to the Yi 360 VR, huh?
Yeah, about that. Unfortunately, this footage completely screwed up. One big flaw of the camera right now is it locks in exposure settings, so each time you turn on your camera, it will automatically overexpose. Even if you change the settings back and turn the camera off, it'll overexpose when you next turn the camera on. So while I was sure this was on auto exposure, it still by default overexposed all the sample videos from this point on, making it unusable. I will post more about the Yi in the future, but it would just be unfair of me to keep commenting on this camera when a lot of these issues are going to be fixed eventually, I think. Back to the Harbour Bridge, and all this footage is looking decent at first. Looking a little closer, some points of differentiation are the Theta V has the worst chromatic aberration. That means the purple bits around the palm tree there. Also, the Xiaomi is fringing a little bit. The other 4 are doing pretty good in this regard. I noticed with both the Fusion and the One, the top of the frame is really bright. It seems like their way of handling that extreme sun is to overcompensate and make it too bright, whereas all 4 others seem to get the contrast just right. If you haven't gone into full screen yet, I would suggest you do so now, because I want to talk about sharpness. Looking at the Harbour Bridge, the Fusion is clearly the sharpest of the 6, followed by the Theta V. The rest are quite hard to differentiate. You could argue that any of the 4 is the sharpest. However, I'll say from personal experience that the Xiaomi and the Verb have been better performers in terms of sharpness than the One and the Rilo. The One is absolutely not known for its sharpness. Most of the videos I've shot with the One have ended up really soft when you zoom in even just a tad. So I'm going to put the Mi Sphere and the Verb equal 3rd, the One 4th, and Rilo goes 5th. Because of the limited colors, it causes blotchiness. You'll see that in the grass and just all over that image, it's looking blotchy. Like I said though, I'm happy with all 6 images, and really I'm just being picky here. After color correction, this order doesn't change. Fusion 1, Theta V2, Xiaomi and Verb 3. With the One and the Rilo, they're actually much closer this time. You'll notice that the Harbour Bridge is significantly sharper on the Rilo, whereas the grass in the foreground on the One is sharper. This tells me that the One is sharp at close distance and the Rilo is sharp at far distance. So I'll give them equal 4th. Here we are at nighttime, and I tested the cameras for 3 things. 1, how a subject looks. 2, how a bright light source looks. And 3, how nighttime or darkness looks. Without hesitation, I'm instantly going to put 1 in last place because that extreme noise is not good to look at, and it's not a camera you can use at night without your footage being covered in a blanket of ugly grain. The Rilo's not great either, it's going straight into 5th. With the remaining 4, when we look at the subject, aka that big hairy ape doing an Instagram Instagram live session. The Fusion comes first, Verb second, Theta V third, and Mi Sphere fourth. This one was really obvious for me when you look at the sharpness around my face, as well as the sharpness of the tennis court at the bottom of frame. Looking at noise, it goes Fusion 1, Mi Sphere 2, Theta V 3, and Verb 4. These are all acceptable levels of noise, but there still is a big difference between the four. Finally, with the way they handle direct light sources, again the Fusion wins. Theta V comes second, Xiaomi comes third, and look, the Xiaomi and Theta V were really close, but I noticed their light source on the right hand side of frame was seeping its way in on the Mi Sphere, whereas it wasn't on the Theta V. With the Verb, you can see all kinds of light distortions, both lens flares and spots. While it's decent, it's not as good as the other three. So tallying it up, Fusion wins by a country mile, Theta V second, Xiaomi third, Verb fourth. After color correction, there's one change. The Verb and the Xiaomi switch places. The Verb, as you guys will know from my review, is a camera that usually grades really well. It's among the best cameras for color correction, and I was able to bring it back to life and help it overtake the Mi Sphere. The Mi Sphere didn't color correct well at all, and while it's still acceptable, the Verb clearly beats it after color correction. Finally, let's see how they compare for stabilization. And the Theta V is looking pretty ordinary, isn't it? Yeah, I wouldn't really walk around with this camera. It's not good for handheld shots. No question, it's a massive contender when you're shooting video and the camera is stationary, but when it's moving, forget about it. Do not consider the Theta V if you like moving around a lot with your 360 videos. The Mi Sphere takes it to the next level, and you'll notice this is much smoother. It has 6-axis stabilization, and it's doing a good job here. The horizon is relatively stable, however, I still am noticing micro shakes, almost like there's an earthquake. Not a big earthquake, but a small earthquake. And while I'd happily use this footage, if this was a really long clip, it would get irritating after a while. I never thought I'd say it, but the Insta360 One and Garmin Verb are surprisingly close. They both take it to the next level, and this is almost gimbal-like stabilization. Believe it or not, the One is actually doing a better job. A camera half the price of the Verb is looking silky smooth, so much so that it draws attention to the shakiness in the cloud area of the Verb video. Even a confused tourist bumping into me does not faze the Insta360 One. Insta360 have updated their firmware recently, and I can see they're vastly improving their stabilization. And I know for a fact after the Rilo came out, Insta360 suddenly caught on and realized how good stabilization could be, so they've been upping their game really fast. Here's the order as I see it so far. The question remains, who will take number 1 spot and who will take number 2? Looking at the Rilo and Fusion there, they're both looking worthy contenders of taking number 1 spot. And they're off. Rilo and Fusion, Fusion and Rilo. Which camera will win? Which will be smoother? Which will be smoother? Oh, Fusion's looking good, Rilo looking good. Oh, they're both looking good. I can't really tell much difference between them. They're looking pretty identical to me. Oh, they're basically mirror image. Oh, which one's gonna win? I can't tell. Okay, so clearly both these cameras have outstanding stabilization, no shake at all in the cloud area, no shake on the ground, no shake on the horizon. They're both amazing cameras for sports and action and moving the camera around a lot. The only way to determine the winner is to turn up the speed. There we have it, the Rilo is the winner. It's noticeably smoother. The Fusion does seem a little bit shaky, especially in the cloud area when sped up to 500%. If you get excited by the idea of hyperlapses, which are moving time lapses, then the Rilo was a camera that was made for you. So here we have the overall standings for stabilization. For some people, this is going to make the world of difference. If you're into sports, documentary, moving around a lot, this factor alone could be what determines you buying a camera or not. If you consider yourself more of a photographer and you couldn't care less about moving around, then this factor means jack. Cool guys, I hope this was helpful. I know I barely scratched the surface, but I am planning on doing many more videos comparing these cameras. I'd be curious to know which was your winner. These are my thoughts, but you might think something entirely different. Leave a comment in the box below and let me know. Here's where you can find me on social media. I already have reviews of 4 of these 7 cameras on my YouTube channel, so go check them out. And the remaining 3 are coming as soon as I can possibly make them. And by that, I mean a few weeks. Until next time, don't forget to capture your world in 360. This has been Ben Claremont, and I will see you in the next video.